Hey, what's up YouTube? This is my 6-year review that I'm doing on my 2011 Nissan Altima. This video is basically going to cover all of the things in which that I've had to do as far as regular maintenance and extra repairs, as well as my personal opinion about this vehicle after owning it for 6 years. I did purchase this 2011 Nissan Altima back in 2013. I bought it used. It had about 30,000 miles on it when I purchased it. It's at approximately 76,300 now. I just gave you a quick overview of what the vehicle looks like. This one here is the SL model. It came with the sunroof on it. I added the rain guards, and it also has the mirrors in which that have the turn signal built into them, the turn signal lights. It also has the factory Nissan wheels on it here. Like I said, this is the SL model. It has the chrome tip dual exhaust. Not truly a dual exhaust, but it's just a faux dual exhaust. This is the condition of the vehicle. I've, for the most part, meticulously took care of it. Now, I'm sure there's other people out there that do even more of a detailed job at caring for their vehicles, but I'd like to consider myself pretty meticulous. As you can see, it's pretty clean here in the picture. I haven't had any major accidents or any kind of body damage on the vehicle. So the first thing that I'd like to point out is the condition of how well the paint has held up. This is the factory paint. Only a few panels on this vehicle have been painted, which I'll explain that to you shortly. The biggest concern I have is the Nissan, and this is more probably regarding the black paint. This is what they call their super black. And the paint did not hold up as well as I'd like to have. Now, it may look gorgeous in the camera because it's not going to pick up all of the imperfections. But as you can see, there's a lot of stone chips in which I've just done a little bit of touch-up on. This section here had a chip, but the clear coat, as you can see here, is completely come back and peeled back. So my biggest complaint regarding this vehicle would be the paint, the quality of the paint job. And like I said, that could partially be to being black. Black paint tends to absorb the heat, in which that it seems to age and fade a lot quicker. Now, the front bumper has been painted. I had it professionally painted by a friend in which it does auto body. The paint job he did was excellent. It's holding up well. Unfortunately, I've already accumulated some chips already on it, as you can see, just from driving. There is a split in the paint here, as you can see, like a little spider web. This, I think somebody may have bumped into the vehicle and cracked the paint, because one day it was there, and then the next day it wasn't there after being in a parking lot. So I think somebody might have bumped into it right there and caused a little bit of cracking in the paint. Unfortunately, the paint has started to chip off, so I put a little touch up. I'm going to repaint this bumper again. I'm going to sand it down and repaint it. And I'm also going to sand the hood and fix it. A little bit of corrosion here building up, which will have to be repaired. But I do plan on refinishing and repainting the hood factory color. As far as the rest of the paint goes, once again, it's not going to show up probably in the picture, but there is a lot of scratches and swirls. The car has been buffed, but unfortunately that doesn't seem to really help with this particular color. As far as that goes, they also, if you look down inside here with the hood open, you'll notice that there is a lot of areas in which that they simply forgot to paint at the assembly line or missed. The other problem you'll see too is if you come up here along the edge here, you can see the clear coat is starting to wear away at the edges, which will be just a matter of time before that starts to peel. The other place of interest is in the trunk along the edges here, which I've added touch up. They have also not put a very thick coat of paint or any paint at all on the assembly line. Once again, if you bring your attention back to the edges here, the clear is starting to get rougher on the edges, which means that eventually it is going to start to peel. The rear bumper was replaced. When they replaced it, it was painted and cleared. Obviously that had to be done because someone bumped into me at a stop sign, which damaged the bumper and caused cracking in the paint, so they replaced the whole bumper and the energy absorber. Not at fault of the vehicle, obviously. The lights seem to have held up well. This is a factory pinstripe, which is pretty much worn down in a lot of spots. I will definitely be refinishing that as well, or redoing that as well. A couple last places of interest I'm going to show you is the headlights. They still are fairly clear. There's a little bit of oxidation in this section here, but other than that, the headlights have a little bit in this section here, but other than that, the lights have stayed really clear. No major oxidation on this side, maybe just a touch up here on the inside. You can see that pinstripe there, of course, is worn. Like I said, pretty much normal wear and tear. The one thing I did want to show you, which was over on this side, which is the roof. There's a really, really thin spot here, which once again, I don't know if it'll even pick up, but you can probably see those white speckles on the camera. That is a really thin area that's starting to come through on the clear coat. Pretty unfortunately, unfortunate. Like I said, I don't know if it's to blame on being a black car or if it is because Nissan just didn't do a very quality paint job. A couple last places I'd like to show you. I'm going to go ahead and open up the vehicle. And we're going to go ahead down here and pop the hood, as well as pop the trunk. I'm going to turn the lights on so you can see what it looks like with the lights on. I want to show you on the trunk the areas that I was talking about. If you look inside here, you can see that there's pretty much no paint. This section here had very little paint, if none. Also up here, if you look along there, completely not even painted. Primer, but no paint. You can see along here was the same problem. And we'll go back up front again, and I'm going to show you up front. And I'm going to go ahead and pop the hood for a minute. Alright, we got the hood popped. I'm going to just do a quick show you of what I was explaining to you about the paint earlier. Once again, very little paint used here. There's areas here where paint was missed on the inside of the fenders. There's the bottom side of the hood. Not too bad there. And once again, there's some areas over here that simply weren't painted. So as far as this vehicle goes, got the headlights on there. I did upgrade the lights to some LEDs, which shouldn't probably have done that, only because, like I said, these, well, not like I said, but these lights aren't really designed for LED lights, so they tend to not beam or direction the light in the correct way, so they kind of just blow out at everybody as far as possibly blinding oncoming drivers. So, but it definitely helps as far as getting the light thrown further down the road. So that's the only real aftermarket upgrade I did, was I switched out all the lights, including the tail lights and brake lights, to LED, and the fog lights down there. This SL model also came with the optional driving lights, the fog lights at the bottom. This has the 2.5 4-cylinder in it. It has the Cvt transmission in it, constantly variating transmission. I have changed the fluid twice in it. with the NS2 fluid. You should also note that I have videos of that if you're interested in seeing that. I changed the drive belt, the serpentine belt, as well as the pulley tensioner for the serpentine belt because it was starting to make some rattling noises. So the bearing was more than likely going bad within the serpentine belt tensioner pulley. Keep up on the oil. I run full synthetic Pennzoil Platinum in this vehicle. 5W30. Change it every 3,500 to, I'd say, every 3,000 to 3,500 miles. Some may comment that that's probably premature, but once again, it's my vehicle, my money, so I like to extra care for it. And the only things that I've had to do to it so far, other than the general maintenance as far as changing the transmission fluid, the oil, the serpentine belt, and the tensioner pulley, would be I've had to replace the battery in it. This will be the third battery. The first battery was replaced under warranty by Nissan. The Nissan batteries, in my opinion, don't seem to really hold up. So the Nissan battery, went through two of them. Both of which, the first one was just simply failed while it was in for service and they did a replacement for free. The second one left me stranded. As far as any other reviews, one of the things that are common to break that I've had to replace on here is if you live in the area in which that have the snow and the rust belt, is the the gas door lever here. The little, that cracked off last winter, which caused this to basically just stay flapping open like that because it wouldn't latch. I was able to get a replacement one of these at the pull-apart. I grabbed two of them while I was there. They're easy to change. You just go inside the trunk and squeeze. There's two little tabs on the inside of this. You squeeze them together and this whole part comes out and you reattach the cable. So that came off of a pull-apart car. Tail lights, I'll show you those real quick. As you can see, there's no oxidation or fading on those. A lot of junk in my trunk. But trunk's pretty decent. It's pretty deep. So the next thing that I've had to replace on this vehicle was, I would say, about 2 years ago. Like I said, we're approaching 6 years, October 28th. This is 2019 currently. So as of October 28th, which is in about a month and a half from now, I'll own this vehicle 6 years. And one of the things that I've had to replace on it was the catalytic converter because the flex pipe had rotted and started to leak. So it comes as a whole direct unit, about $135 after using some promo codes at Advanced Auto Parts. I ordered one of those and put that on myself. Saved me probably thousands of dollars than it would have spent taking it somewhere else. The second thing in which that this vehicle I just repaired at the beginning, which would be in spring, would be one of the mufflers on the rear had a leak on the top of it, so I had to replace one of those. Instead of going aftermarket or spending $300 plus to go through the dealership to purchase a replacement one so that I would keep the two tips equal and identical so it would not throw off the look of the vehicle, I chose to go on eBay for $100. And I will show you here the replacement driver's side one. So there is the one I got. You can see how the clamp back there is shiny and then it attaches slightly rusted exhaust. So I got this one here for about $100, free shipping. There's the old one over there still. It's okay still. But the top of this rusted out, so I replaced that with an eBay used one from another Nissan from, I believe, the state of Texas. As far as the underneath goes, there's no major rust, there's no major holes in the body. And then we can go inside the vehicle. The interior seems to be holding up really well. This came with, like I said, the leather because it was the SL model. This is the driver's seat. Slightly wear here. On camera, I'm sure it looks way worse than it actually is. There really is no cracking. It's just more of a where the seat bends from the weight of somebody getting in and out of it. You know, it seems to cause this to get a little bit of a folding mark in it. The only real crack, I believe, is there's a little split right there and maybe one there starting, but that's the only imperfection in the interior. This is probably just a scratch from my keys or my belt. It's not actually all the way through though, it's just a scratch. Steering wheel seems to have held up. There's some little bit of brush marks on it, but it's not peeling. A little bit of cracking, but once again on camera it looks a lot worse. Small little chip of the rubber came out there on the dash cover. The dash itself doesn't have any cracking, as you can see on it. The doors and everything, they are all also in really good shape still. The pad seems to have held up on here good. There's no cracking or anything there. All the switches, all the locks, windows, power locks, mirrors, everything still functions. This model here, I'll climb in, as you can probably remember from my previous video, has the satellite radio and the also has the built-in Bose speaker system and navigation. It also has the backup camera, which as you can still see, or as you can see, still functions properly. Has the dual climate, automatic climate control, which is a nice feature. It still functions fully. I have replaced the cabin air filter on it. Probably 2 or 3 times since I've owned it. The carpet I keep covered with the rubber mats, but they do get cleaned on a regular basis. This also has the sunroof in it, which also still functions and works properly. There's the passenger seat. The armrest is still in good shape too, no cracks or anything going on there. I do use leather treatment on this vehicle regularly, so it does get cleaned. It also has the dimming mirror on it, as well as the home link on it to link up if you have an automatic garage door, which I do not. All the interior lights and everything function properly. Has the buttons for the cruise control and the volume, as well as the phone and everything for the radio. It all still functions as it should. Like I said, no major rust. As far as brakes go, I'll get out and show you the back seat while I talk about brakes. I've replaced the brakes front and back twice since I've owned it. I probably could have gotten away with only replacing them once, but I chose to reuse the rotors since they were still decent the first time around, and just did a pad replacement on the front and back. So what ended up happening was after 5 years of owning it, the rotors finally rusted out, and normally it's not a good idea to throw old pads onto new rotors because you'll end up scoring them. So I went ahead and just did the pads again, even though they weren't technically due. So technically it's had 2 sets of brakes. The second time I did it, I did pads and rotors. It has not needed any calipers or brake hoses or brake lines. Back seat, as you can see, is also in pristine condition. No rips or tears. Has the Bose speakers up there in the back window. Rear defroster and everything still works. So other than that, and the blower motor had to be replaced while it was still under warranty, around 33,000 miles. Like I said, it currently has 76,416 to be exact is the mileage. The blower motor had to be replaced because it was making some clicking noises. It just, I think, was the bearings or brushes in the motor, so that had to be replaced. Other than that, I have no complaints. I highly enjoy the vehicle. I would purchase this car hands down again. I've kind of been eyeballing the 2017 and 2018 models because they're going to start getting cheaper now, especially if you purchase a low mileage used one that came off of a lease. But other than that, I really don't have much else to say. Like I said, it's been, for me, a very maintenance-free vehicle. Just your typical stuff. I did have optionally went and had the coolant changed in it. Did that at the dealership only because, not that I can't do it myself, but they hooked it up to the machine and flushed out the old and pulled in the new. It's just a lot easier than having to do it in the driveway with a garden hose without having the flush machine. So it has had new coolant in it, probably around 45, 48,000-ish in that proximity, if I could recall correctly. Other than that, that would be it. I've literally, other than what I've already mentioned, have done literally nothing other than wash, wax, change oil, fuel, and drive it. Oh, and I did spark plugs. I apologize. I did spark plugs around 64,000. Once again, wasn't having a problem, just chose to do that. You know, they're supposed to be rated for 100,000, but I put the NKG in it and went ahead and put the, or NGK, I'm sorry, and did the plugs just so they'd be done. One less thing on my mind. So that's the engine there. Other than that, like I said, I can't think of anything else to really mention. So I just wanted to give you all a follow-up. The CVT has been very reliable. I know there's a lot of haters out there that don't care for Cvt transmissions because you can't feel it shift, and they've had somewhat of a reputation as far as not being reliable. But I think it all depends on the owner and how well you care for the vehicle. I think that if you drive the vehicle the way it's intended to be driven and change the fluids at the appropriate intervals, and I don't think you'll have any problems. I would totally buy this vehicle again if it was presented to me for sale again without any hesitation whatsoever. It has created or turned me into being a Japanese car person. I would definitely buy either a Nissan or definitely a Toyota or Honda. I choose Nissan because they tend to be slightly cheaper when it comes to price from what I've seen. And also one of the features that I really like about Nissan is that they use the timing chain on these engines in this vehicle, in the Altimas, instead of the timing belt, which keeps you from having to worry about one extra maintenance item. Once again, if you change your oil and do what you're supposed to do, I don't feel that you'll have any problem with that. So I will do another follow-up video in a few years from now, just to let you know. I'm not planning on getting rid of the car. I'm going to keep it. It's going to be paid off in the next 4 months in full. So the title will be in my hand. And I will do a follow-up video then and let you know how everything is. So if you have any questions about your Nissan Altima, being that I've had one now for approximately 6 years, or if you're interested in buying one, you know, fire me a comment. You know, I'd be glad to give you some information and help you out. And I also make how-to car repair videos, doing some basic car repairs at home. So I appreciate you all for watching, and please rate, comment, and subscribe. Take care. Almost forgot. I'm sure there's going to be somebody out there that wants to know how this engine sounds, so we'll go ahead and start it up there. So that is what a Nissan Altima with the 2.5 2011 engine sounds like. With 76,000 miles on it. It's been well maintained with oil changes. Pretty quiet car. Alright, and that will wrap this up. Thanks again for watching, guys.